Kaboom! Hello, fellow Sublime Text fanatics, and welcome to the live stream for Devember 17th, where we are testing out, as is our wont here, slightly tweaking up our stream game a little bit. I am officially on vacation. I started my vacation yesterday and was on vacation today. So far, I've managed to do some development on YouTuberizer yesterday and upload a devlog. I managed to help my wife make some cookies today and taste test them to make sure everything's good. And I got a haircut. And I played with some video editing stuff, learning a little bit more about how to do things. So, hence the new Stinger wipe there. As we can see, it's going to be in a couple of places. We'll see how it is. You let me know if you watch this back. Does it seem too loud? Because it seems okay to me for my setup, but it seems very loud in my ears, and so does the intro. And I don't know if that is carried across to everybody, because I don't know if I'm just sort of tuned for my own stuff. But in any case, we are live tonight here, and now that I'm officially in vacation mode, theoretically, perhaps we might also do some live streams not on Tuesdays and Thursdays. So you may want to use the button down below to subscribe and ring the bell notification icon, or follow me on Twitter at ODatNerd. I don't have a third for that yet here, I don't think. Well, let's see what this does. There you go. You could do that. You could do that right there if you wanted to, and it'll go away eventually. Whoop, push that key to make sure that doesn't go again. You can follow me there. Those are the sorts of things that I'm working on for the stream. And of course, we have the other couple of drops that we have here. The idea being that through Devember, we're developing software. Here we're developing YouTuberizer, but we're also kind of developing our stream game a little bit as well. I mean, clearly, I'm better at making static videos than live content. But in any case, we are going to jump into live streaming here now, the actual development of stuff, where we're going to be continuing our work on YouTuberizer's caching mechanism by making it persist that data to disk and load it back, so that every time we reload the plugin or every time we start Sublime, it doesn't have to refetch absolutely everything. So here we're going to see how well that goes. Technically possible, yes indeed. Logically, how we figure out when it needs to get fresh data, that's going to be the interesting part. So let's go ahead and roll on in, shall we? Roll them. And hello, fellow Sublime Text fanatics. ODatNerd here, and welcome to the live stream. For people that skip over the preamble and jump directly to this part, we are here on Devember, Thursday, the 17th, doing some YouTuberizer development. If you've been following development for the last couple of days on the other live stream and in the devlog yesterday, we've been working on modifying the way that YouTuberizer caches its data behind the scenes. Originally, in the original incarnation before Devember even started, we were using a mechanism of caching whereby, let me just move my camera to the appropriate place for actual streaming as opposed to devlogging. That's one thing that I should probably try to get a better handle on. And what we were doing was using actually code right here in this manager class. When you make a request in the handler in your own command, it gets shunted into here where you call this to make the request, and it has its own cache inside that caches the exact request object that you provided. And you provide this object, this value. If you use an object exactly like this to make a request previously, instead of actually sending the request off, it will just immediately return you the exact same thing it returned last time. And this, of course, is cached only in memory, which worked for me for quite some time. Issue with that being, we're getting into grabbing more information down now than we were previously. And there's some information that has overlap that this doesn't account for. And the thing that we're always going on about that here for this purpose, is getting the contents of playlist and the details of videos inside of them. Because when you ask the YouTube API for the contents of a playlist, it just says, gives you a list of the playlist ID, the video ID and when it was published. And you can try to request some other information if you like, but we want more information than when you can get in there. So we have to make another request to get more information. So now we consider the idea that because our requests are cached based on the actual request itself, if you were to request videos from playlists on your channel, it would gather all that information. And then if you look inside the uploads playlist, which has all of the data, it has to grab all of the information there in order for that to work. So we don't really like that because that's just wasteful. And now we want to take it one step further. But to show this, because we didn't actually see this in the devlog, I don't generally in my devlogs jump into Sublime to check things out here. This is the YouTuberizer output panel. And well, I guess we could do it over there, but let's do it over here. I like this panel as my main panel. And say we wanted to get an get a link to a video. We can see it mentioning various things it's doing. It's launching the YouTube thread, requesting authorization, blah, blah, blah. And it fetches the playlists in this channel. It didn't find them because this is the first time that we've done it. It found 12 playlists, and here they are. Now, let's say I do this. I go into plugin 101, how to write packages in Sublime, and there's 18 videos in this. And by the way, if you're new to the streams, I have another channel linked down in the description below. That's where these videos come from. And every Monday at 9 a.m. Pacific time, a new video drops. All through November, we're doing plugin 101 things. And then, during the normal parts of the year where it's not Devember, we alternate between plugin 101 videos and just tutorials about how to use Sublime, get the most out of it, how all the bits of it work. But in any case, back to our demonstration here, we jump into this. We can see right here, okay, it fetched the contents of the playlist Plug Bloof, and it hadn't gathered that before, but it contains 18 items. Now it needs to fetch the details for those items so that it can give us the titles information and also things like the view count, the likes, and the dislikes and such like. So we can see here that it's fetching video results. None of the things it wants is cached, so it's fetching 18 of 18 things, which is how many there were in here. And then it cached that response, which means if I go back into that one again, it immediately says returning cache data because it knows that information. It's received it previously. If I go into the override audit one now, we see it's doing the exact same thing, but there's only 3 videos in this one, so it fetched 3 of 3. None of the items that it wanted were cached. It needed 3. It fetched 3. As a result, it did that. It fetched the data. Here it is. Now, we go into uploaded videos, which it says has 99, but there's actually 109 things in here. This video count is representative of what you see on the YouTube page for someone's channel, which only tells you about their public videos. It doesn't tell you about private and unlisted videos because, if it did, then there would be hints that there's other stuff there that maybe you're not, allowed to see. So if I click on this one, we can see that the request it makes is it fetched the playlist. It hadn't done it before. This playlist contains 109 items, but 21 of them are cached. So it only needs to fetch 88 of the 109. And if we had done this the other way, if we had done this one first, then all of these ones would have been cached. So this is the stuff that we just finished doing in yesterday's stream. So we now officially are at a point where we have our data caching working more or less the way that I'd like it to work. It's still got slight rough edges. I'm going to close that for the time being, in as much as we have a lot of logging in here that we likely don't need. It was just there for testing purposes, like mentioning whether the cache was cleared, if there was a miss, or if there was a hit. That's the sort of stuff we don't need, so we got to clean that up a little bit. We're going to do that here. And also, this caching mechanism that's in the manager no longer needs to be here because it's now all 100% inside of the networking code. And the reason we did that is because the networking code knows exactly what it's requesting, what format it's going to come back in. And this allows us to take better liberties with our caching of data. For example, we know that when we're fetching playlist contents, we're getting video details of in a certain way, and we need to store them in 2 places. We need to store the list of information inside of the actual playlist, and we also need to get the same information to store for other playlist requests and such. So we're going to work on that here too. Before we do that, though, I'm just going to jump into the Discord real quick just to double check. Okay, someone was asking just right before the stream about package contents, and I gave them some answers, but um, he was still potentially asking a question. He was just saying thanks. So it's a few things I'd like to do tonight. One is cleaning up this caching code. Another is persisting it to disk. And one thing that I would dearly like to do is give ourselves a better menu experience in here. There's a lot of things in here that are of no use to us. We definitely don't need to cut because this is read only. You can't cut out of this and you can't paste into it, but you can copy. And maybe we want to have word wrap on and off. That's not actually something that's part of the standard menu, so I don't need to worry about that. Ditto any of these. So we probably want copy, select all, and none of these particular items in here, but maybe we have an item in here to clean the panel. And I want to do that first because you've been using this for debugging more, and sometimes it's tricky to see what's going on, especially since I've gotten used to the idea that file manager generating issues again. Something thought that there was going to be a selection in a place where there wasn't. The ability to do this now has been like a godsend for keeping exact track of what's going on. So I've gotten so used to being able to do that in my console that I want to be able to do it in my own logs too. So let's say we work on that first. That's kind of a rehash of stuff that we've covered in other live streams. We did it recently for Override Audit, but it never hurts to. The more you do a thing, the better you get at it. So here's what we're going to do for that. We don't really have said file open. I got 2 copies of this open because I was looking at the cache data over here and also over there at the same time. Let's close down all the files that we don't technically need right now, just to keep the display nice and clean. This panel down here is basically, you can't really see much of the contents behind here. I try to use this one for reference information for myself, which in this case is information on what things like channel details, playlist contents, and video details looks like while I'm writing code to be able to get at this. And then also I have a Scratch Python buffer here. If I move that up just a little bit, occasionally when I'm working on stuff and I implement some new APIs in one part of one sort of a file, I just grab the code and plop them into this Scratch buffer over here to remind myself of what the arguments to the thing were as I'm using it. I mean, I probably could be using something like LSP and command completion, but I've never really gotten into the habit of that because it wasn't a thing back when I started writing software a bajillion years ago, because I'm an old man, as referenced by pardon me, how white my beard is. That does remind me, fix that boom a little bit, that I've been meaning to update my avatar image somewhat to be able to have that silver stripe in there, if you will. So let's close that. We're going to go into utils because I think that is where the logging stuff is. No, it's not. It's in logging is where it is. So we're going to need this file to be able to do something here. Specifically set up log panel. We're going to want to do something here. We're going to say view settings, set context menu, and then YouTube. Oh, do I have any? Okay. YouTube log Sublime menu is what we're going to apply into that thing. Good evening, Ashwin. How's your morning been going? It's morning for you there, right? You're ahead of me in the time curve. You could tell me what my lottery results are. Hope things have been going well for you. I had a pretty chill day, all things told. I played around a little bit with hit film and learned a little bit more about compositing in it because I'm used to using, I don't think I have it on here anymore. I was using Fusion from DaVinci to do stuff like, say, my video intro but they no longer have a free version of it except for the one that's bundled into their editor or their video editor, and I don't really like that. But I'm really enjoying using HitFilm for a lot of my video production work, so I'm trying to get myself up to speed in using layer-based compositing again instead of node-based compositing, and using their interface, which is very much like After Effects, which is very much not anything I've ever actually used. So the thing we're working on here tonight, as the title said, is we're going to be working on trying to persist the cache. But before we get there, we got a couple of things we want to do, and one is modify this to have its own custom context menu and a command we can use to clear the contents of it out. Just to make things a little bit easier debugging wise. Then we're going to clean up the cache code in petit p, and then we jump into the easy part of writing cache data to disk and loading it up. The harder part of coming up with exactly when data should be written to the cache to disk, presumably every time. And if we want to have some sort of time interval for when we flush it out and continue to go, or do we want to add extra arguments to commands? We've been very careful about making items that actually can tell a thing specifically. I don't care what you think you have cached. I want fresh data right now. But first things first, we're going to need a little something like yaw. And let's go ahead and copy that. And new menu file empty is probably what I want here. We'll save that. And we're going to put that not in this one, but in YouTube editor. That's this one. And that's going to be in resources, and that's going to be in menus, and I called that YouTube log. Whoops. I hate this. Oh. I hate when that happens. There. Morning here. Thank you. I'm not sure if I could make you win a lottery though. Well, I tell you what, if someone can contrive a way for me to win the lottery and not have to go to work every day, I could totally devote myself to just sitting around in live streams and making YouTube videos all the time. Living the dream, as they say. Let's see, someone's... Oh, someone liked my comment on how to solve crashing at startup. I'm surprised. Sublime Text 2 crashes if settings files are broken. So there's a good reason to upgrade to Sublime Text 3 at this late date. This is, that's in package dev. All right, don't really care about that. We need to refresh, and that should, I would have thought, Is this not the setting that you use for this? I would have thought so. Maybe we're about to run into an issue. No. I'll tell you what my issue is. I keep pushing the wrong key. Oh. My keyboard's not quite right. Yeah, I know. That's definitely the thing. Oh, no. Do I need to specify the whole thing? I do, don't I? I should probably check that. No, I guess not, huh? Just the name of the actual file. All right, well, that seems to be cool then. Maybe we should quit and restart just to double check. Nice to see a use for the context menu setting. I don't think I've ever seen a practical use for it so far. Whoops, that's not what I meant to do. The only one that I've seen so far is the, well, for personally, the one that in package controls reports. I'm not actually sure now that you mention it what else it would be good for, unless a plugin or a package wanted to completely yoink the context menu out of a buffer. I guess one thing you could do is swap it temporarily. So if you were in the middle, if you had some plugin or a package that had a variety of commands you could use to do something, you could, when you enter the first one and you're in a certain state, swap the context menu to only have certain commands in it and then swap it back later. I've never done it in a panel before, so hopefully maybe that's not a thing that actually works. That's a unfortunate turn of events, such as it is. I also use it in the editing part, but Do. Just to double check, I'm really only getting errors from File Manager in here, like a ton of them. I really mean to be looking into those things. It seems to be trying to do something from selection. It must be something that's in a context menu or something, because it doesn't always happen. Whoops. Whoops. That's interesting. Okay, well, that works, but why for did doing it here not work? Is it because I never actually saved that stupid file and reloaded the plugin? I mean, I did this, right? Works now. Watch back the playback on that. I bet you I didn't save that file and then I quit and restarted or something. I'm going to look at your link here, though. Let's see. Go to. Oh, that's so bright. Ow, 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 my eyes. If one creates a custom output panel, then it doesn't process the context menu at all. Back in 2017, presumably that's all. Assign a syntax first? Well, that's not what I did. I was actually just thinking that very thing, though. Maybe I do want to have a syntax on this. So maybe create the syntax and use syntax-specific settings for it. Just to double check, Sublime is definitely quit right now. Let me unselect that. Let's fire it up. Oh, what's going on over here? Someone's asking. Nope. Okay. We were going to go ahead and throw that up. So if we look here, that's all going. Custom menu. So I'm going to assume that I did something real dumb there. So let's see. Does that actually show up in here? I'm going to leave that one in, and we'll double check it in a second. We're definitely never going to go to definition anything. And we're probably never going to diff anything either. We can't cut, but we can copy. We can't paste, but we can select all. We're definitely not going to be able to repo anything. This isn't a file. You can't open it in browser or do any of that stuff. So I guess the menu kind of looks like that for now. This looks for something under the cursor to see if it's a URL, and if it is, it opens it. So we'll leave that one in there. Theoretically, we could write a link to a video in here and actually get some information out of it. So cool, we can select all, we can copy. Nice. When we get our syntax highlighting going in here, we could also add copy as HTML into there too. Kind of funky, surprised that it's not in there either. I mean, it's in the menu. I bound a key to it because I wanted a key for it, but in any case, that seems to be cool for that part. So let us go ahead and we'll swap over to this. And our settings are what? We did that. We're going to leave that alone. And there's that in resources. So let's say stage that and stage that. What am I getting here? I'm getting a really funky display on my screen. Thank you there, thing. Oh no, the Sixler is streaming Tetris Effect, but I'm streaming too, so I can't do anything about that. I just started following that guy the other day too. Oh, hang on. My Mac can't connect to the internet, so I totally can't see my live stream going there right now because the Mac doesn't have any internet connection. So that's unfortunate that this thing with internet connection doesn't have internet connection. Okay. Include a custom context menu. I wonder if part of the thing that you mentioned in the yeah, clearing unnecessary logs is totally the reason why I'm putting a custom context menu in this in the first place, as a matter of fact. So I'm hearing you on FM on that one, because once it goes, it's a little, it gets a little rough for the stuff that's in there. Hopefully it'll get a little bit better when we throw a tiny bit of syntax in there to make it look a little nicer. All right. Menu in the panel, in the log panel, we'll say. So what do we do in there? We are going to say that we need to stage this part of the thing and we need to stage the actual menu file. We'll leave this argument here that we're using to test things out and commit that, and we can go ahead and jump back. So there, the first thing we want to put in here is a clear panel command, which I think is actually really easy to write because of the magic of, oh, I don't have a, yeah, this one. This method here is what we're using because, you know, we have this log here, and then also in a new window, there's one here because we have an event listener that says that when you create a new window, it should create set up a new log panel by taking the contents of an existing one and sending it in there so that no matter what window you're in, you have access to the logs, which I find personally useful. And here in the actual log, it actually finds the panel in every one of the windows and sends the output there. One of the nice things about using output panels such as yaw is that when you create an output panel that already exists, the content inside of it is truncated. So a command to clear the panel is as simple as just, I guess we would use an application command for that iterates over all of the active windows and calls setup log panel for them and doesn't provide a source window, which stops it from actually getting the stuff. So then the next question becomes, whereabouts in the menu should it be? Should it be at the top or should it be at the bottom? And it should probably be in the command palette too, I suppose. I don't know that I'd bind a key to it because it's not something that you're going to use that often to require that sort of thing. So let's we'll put it here. We'll call this YouTube editor. It's a thing I like to do. You can add items to a menu and insert them into a specific section of the menu by using the ID in your own caption thing. And it's kind of a bummer that not all of the menus in Sublime that have a thing like this have something. Many do, but not all of them. So you can't necessarily target a menu item to exactly inside of the menu that you're interested in. So whenever I do something like this, I try to make sure that that's actually possible. So we're going to need an entry for clear log, and I guess it would be YouTube editor clear log. And we won't need any arguments for this one, so let's go ahead and do that now. We're gonna, oops, go away, Panely. It's gonna be a command in yaw, I suppose. We're gonna do this in here. Which one of these might be? I guess this one probably. What did I say I wanted this to be? Clear log. We're going to want that. This is going to be the YouTube editor clear log command. It doesn't need any YouTube request action. It just needs to be an application command. And let's copy that. So in this thing, we can import that. We can add clear log here. Clear the contents of the log panel, and that's going to be this. And down in this one, we need to throw it here as well. So that should be enough to get that up and running. Close those. And now theoretically, if I do this, theoretically, it shouldn't be disabled right now. Theoretically. Did I do that? I did, right? Oh, that might not be as smart about loading new plugin files as it could be. Hang on. All right, well, I boned that up then. Does this have a problem loading? It does not, right? YouTube editor clear log. YouTube editor clear log. Oh. Stoop. I thought I picked the deauthorize command. Pardon me. We'll just call that for expediency purposes. We don't need any of those items. All right. So now it should actually be enabled, and all right. So that's working. All we got to do now is actually do the thing. So for window in sublime.windows, what do we actually call this thing? Setup log panel in window. That is literally all this thing has to do. We don't need either of those things. And clear the contents out of the YouTube log panel in all available windows. So, I mean, that's pretty anticlimactic, but when you do an easy thing, expect an easy answer. If you missed the magic of the stuff that happened yesterday, an example of it is here fetching the contents of the Plugin 101 playlist, which has 18 items inside of it. None of them were cached, so it had to fetch all 18 of them. And then if we go into override audit, It needed 3 things. None of them were cached. It fetched 3 of them. And then if we go into uploaded videos, which contains all of the videos that are on the channel, we can see here that it contains 109 items, but 21 of them had already previously been fetched. So it only needs to fetch the other ones. And now when we go into one of these other ones, it'll automatically have all of them cached because the uploads playlist has everything in it. So we're making life a lot easier that way and that way as well. Now, something to ponder here is what about the idea of having this display a log to tell you that you cleared the log? Is that a thing? It's probably not a thing, right? Doesn't seem like it would be a thing anyway. So let's see. We have the clear log command in the menu, and we added it here in the top level of the source directory to expose it to Sublime. And there's one new file added. And oh, yeah. Hang on. No wonder this looks all funky. I swear, I might need to have a second copy of Merge running in portable mode just for the rest of Devember for doing devlogs. Over-under inline style context diffs are really tricky to grok sometimes when you're used to being able to see A/B differences for things. We added in a file, we imported the file, we did the thing. Yeah, that's totally something that we want. And the untracked file of the actual plugin, which is ridiculously simplistic. Stage that one. And then the only thing left is that. So from the log panel. Beauty. Let's go ahead and commit that bad boy. That's another job done. We don't care about that. We don't care about that. Now let's jump into the manager because I'm curious, where is this used? Because we were taking great care to subvert this cache on a step-by-step basis until all of the other one was rewritten. So in the callback, this is the place where it caches it unless it's in there, which it never is now. Here is deleting something from the cache if the operation failed, which no longer is necessary because the actual code won't put stuff into the cache if it's invalid. So we don't need to worry about that. There it's resetting it when it's deauthorized, and here it's caching it. So we literally don't need any of these lines. So actually we'll do this, I guess. If I do that, then we can say we don't need that, and we don't need this line because we're not going to cache the result, which means we don't need to run this if, which means we don't need this if, and if we don't need that if, we also don't need that one. We do need to store this. We still need our results to come back through here so we can tell if we were actually authorized or not, but we don't need to do that anymore. And we're not going to shuffle that stuff out. So that should be enough to completely get rid of that. And we're going to do the old quit and restart operation on that just to double check that that is exactly what we want. And someone's asking a question in support. Is it possible to have the down key hide autocomplete and then move down? I'd like to create a fully separate set of keys. I don't see why not. There's a context to tell you when the autocomplete panel is open. And we'll just sort of jump out of that there because we've already got something going over here. Testing wise for this, let's just double check that everything still seems to be cool. It managed to retrieve information for one channel, ODAT Nerd, with 99 public videos. I kind of want to tweak that up a little bit too. API fetching playlists for a channel. There's 12 of them. So let's go ahead and look into override audit. Okay, and then let's look at uploaded videos. It missed 3. It got all of them. That's all of the videos. And that actually copied a URL. And if you can see that down there, but there it is. You know what? Just for test purposes here, let's do this. Log's already in here, right? Yes. Oh, no, it's not. I don't know if we'll keep this, but link. Whoops, what did I do? Did not mean to do that. Save the file first. I think I got into the loose habit of assuming that the file is going to save when I push the reload key. I should probably trigger a save all in response to that and save myself some time. Okay. Uploaded videos for the video of all time. Determinist video. It copied that to the clipboard. Yep, that. Oh, look, I'm live on YouTube. Alrighty, so cool. I mean, that proves that the menu thing works too. I don't know, is it handy to have that? I think for my purposes it might be. Uh, Basically, this log is for checking what actually happened. There's been a couple of times where I found something and copied the video link, and then while I was writing the post, I changed my mind, and then I decided I wanted it again. We might actually, in that case, add a little bit more stuff in there. But first of all, let's do this. Let's say for the manager, we removed the cache line, so we're good with that. And we removed the updating the cache and clearing it. That's not anything that has to happen here, although maybe we do want, actually this happens inside of the new caching code when it deauthorizes. I remember that being the case. We can double check that in just a second. So let's go ahead and stage that hunk. And it's not going to be in the cache, so that's never going to happen. So we could stage that hunk again, and then we could say remove all caching code from the manager. And that's good to go. And then if we just very quickly jump over here, we could see in the networking code at log out. I can't remember what it's called. I mean, I would have thought that it was. Does that not happen in here like I thought it did? Oh, that's, huh. In networking at, it was doing it again, wasn't it? Unless I had the wrong file picked. Get authenticated service? No. Anyway, deauthenticate was the thing, and when you do it, it initializes the cache and removes that. So it's definitely doing the thing that we just put in there. So that is cool, although we kind of got a little unhappy about how that thing was going there for a moment. Should be cool. Get video link. Let's say, yeah, let's modify this just ever so slightly. Because we actually have the video ID. Let's go like that. And then we can say video snippet.title and link. Because if you're going to log a link, you might as well log exactly what thing it was, right? Copied link to clipboard. Okay. Maybe it should go the other way. This is where having word wrap toggleable in here is maybe an action. But I like that as a small little life-enhancing feature. And it was small enough that it is just as easy to remove out of there if we decide that we don't want it. So we need to stage this hunk because we want that. We don't care about that, but we do care about this one. Stage that hunk and log copied links to the clipboard. There's probably another place where that happens, potentially. Let's double check. Everything comes through this one command though, right? What if we did this? And we pick that one. See how much faster that is there? Oh, that's not a good one for that. That's not a good one for that at all. We need to pick something that actually has time codes in it. You can see all the stuff that it did in here. Oh, but check it out. Check it out. Oop, that's going to make that a little bit nicer. I'm going to copy this link, and it doesn't get in there because there's a duplicate entry of this thing. So what command is that actually invoking from that? There's an actual context menu. Oh, this is actually the YouTube body context menu, right? Okay, so let's go. Oh, that's right. Yeah. I'll add it in here for now, but we have copy video link and view video link as two separate things. But get video link kind of does both of those things. So this stuff needs to be cleaned up a titch. These ones don't have to go through all of this. So I think there could be some refactoring here. For example, copy video link is this one, where it should do the exact same thing. So I think if that's going to be the case, let's do this. Where we have make video link, which is what that thing's doing, or get window link or whatever. Let's do copy video link. And it's going to take a link. It's going to take a view. And it's going to take link URL like so. And then we just go ahead and grab either one of these two things. Let's verify. This is the magic of that stuff. We throw in here, wind it back a little bit. And just to double check, that's exactly what this is, right? I mean, the URL link is the same, but set that and copied URL. So cool. Then we just say, this is a text command, so we can say copy video link for self.view and URL to get that one doing the thing we want. And we can do, is this this is an application command. Okay, so in that case, this one's going to be a copy video link for sublime.active window. Wait, why was I specifying a view in this thing? We don't actually need that. Let's do that. That is an intriguing, I don't know the answer to that kind of situation. But yeah, we totally don't need that information. We just need this. And I would probably even inline it in this case. I'd probably wrap that and then just say copy video link. That we don't need any of that stuff at all. And we want copy video link on that part. And copy video link here. These are all helpers and separate things, right? Yes, they are. So we should do a little bit of that. And then we need to tweak this init method to have this. Get window link. Oops. Copy video link. That's going to be cool. And if you just joined us, we're working on my YouTuberizer package, a package for Sublime Text that allows you to work with your YouTube channel from directly inside of YouTube. Part of my Devember project this year, and there's a link to the code down in the description. At the end of every night, the code is publicly pushed up for anybody to see. And if you have any questions about plugin development or Sublime Text in general or anything else, go ahead and throw them in the chat. Don't worry about derailing anything. I think that should be everything that we need for this. Good. Seriously tempted to tweak up Sublinet to no longer mention in its log that it's doing that because I totally know it works now. So we don't need to worry about that so much. So just to verify, log is empty. We call get link. And we might pick, let's say, this one and 18. And let's say timecode 155. And it blowed up. I did not name that correctly. Shoot. Shoot. That's this one. I think. Oh, that's over here. Pardon me. I forgot I changed the name of the thing. Should look a little bit like that. Whoops, pushed that one, not that one. We don't need to know how many times I misspelled words in that buffer. Okay, let's try that again. We'll go for 155. Because that's a copied it. Oh, still? Oh, did I not have the... Oh. Regarding hide autocomplete panel that moved down, it was asked in the Discord by someone a ways back, but I couldn't get it to actually work. Interesting. As I was typing that out, I wasn't sure. There's got to be a command to dismiss the autocomplete, right? So does there need to be a slight delay in there? That could be a thing. That might actually be a fun thing to just play with on the stream here for a moment too. Not like I'm trying to get out of that whole other thing. Why did we're not... Wait a minute, the log is totally in here. Oh, it's only in one place. Oops. This is... Does anything from utils load? I see. All right, we're going to have to change this because there is going to be a circular dependency if something in utils tries to load something from logging while something from logging is trying to load something from utils. So we're going to call this, me zooming that file out so I can see it a little better. We'll put it here. Given some piece of text, which is presumed to be a video URL, but hey, you do you. Oh, I won't say it that way. Given a link to a video, possibly at some time code, copy it to the clipboard and also log it to the output panel. A context command in the log allows you to open links in your browser. And then this is here and not in util. Oops. To stop the whole, to stop. And that. Okay, now we need to change some stuff, unfortunately. So everything that we just changed. Oh, don't do that, man. Be it over here. That's still the right thing, but we'll put it down here to say that it's actually there, and it doesn't actually come from here. It comes from here instead, and then this command doesn't want to get it from there. From down to commands, down to source. Actually, no, that's still lib, isn't it? Yeah, that still works. What am I talking about? It's in a different file in lib, but it's still exposed from lib. So that all that stuff should be absolutely fine. But just because I'm paranoid, we're gonna quit this and restart it. I thought adding no op between hot autocomplete and move would be enough, but it seems macros can't process them. Technically, it just sort of skips them because it's not actually doing anything, but that's not the kind of delay that I meant there. Let's just double check this and then we'll investigate that because that is an interesting thing. Let's say we're going to get link. We're just going to pick anything here. We'll pick the top one. We don't care. Terminus. There it said URL copied and did it really? Come on, man. Oh, I need a, oh. Oh. Shoot. All right. We'll get there. If a title is provided, it will be included in the log output. Right on. We're going to do that way, so everything should continue to work. Then this is going to be an empty string if title is none, else a string that looks like a single quote, a %s, a colon, a space. One of those, boop, title. So the very first thing is the link title. Now we don't need that. We just need this, right? So the first string is nothing if there's no title. Otherwise, it's the name of the video with the colon and then that. And pine for format strings if we could run this in the new host. Okay. So copy video link. This one doesn't get one, so that one should just work, I would think. And the other one, we would probably say video snippet.title, like this. Okay. And again, paranoia says that we want to make absolutely for sure that this will work. Right on. Okay. Open that panel and get a video link. video link. Very first one we find. Probably should have picked a smaller playlist. So picking it there works. And of course we could open that if we wanted to. Maybe we want to have clear log in have a little separator there. That might be the way to go. And then in this window, if we open that and we pick this one, copy video link at timecode. It doesn't have the thing at all here. It doesn't. And it might have looked like that doesn't work, but copy video link at this, in fact, does work. Actually, we could pull the thing out. Haha, I'm going to fix that. But the code that generates the link is smart enough to know that if the time code is 0, it doesn't need to do anything special. Let's jump back to the code real quick because we do have information on the title of the video. It's the Did we add it as a setting? Did we add it as a setting in the, let's see. No. This one. We don't set it as, the only window setting we set is the video ID. But the content of the group, of the view in the first group is the title of the video. So for the purposes of this, which is only invoked from those menus, and this is a command that is only enabled in the YouTube window with a video ID. So we know that'll definitely be the case. Title is equal to view dot window dot shoot. Views in group is the thing we want here, right? Yes. Window dot views in group 0 is going to be in group 0. Get the list of views. The very first thing in that is this one, and dot subster sublime dot region 0. Oh, shoot. All right, I guess we need a little bit of this. Because this is a text command, I don't like to just use view for something because it might get confused with that. So that seems like something that it'll probably do something. Maybe it'll be even the right thing. Who can say? Perfect. And at time code, yes. And at this one, yes. And if I change this, sweet. All right. That totally works. So what was that thing that I just mentioned? Let's do, well, we'll do it in stages. So if we jump over to here, we have boop, boop, a new copy video link item. Yes, yes, we do. It's in the logging file and it seems to do what we want. It's even documented, so we're good with that one. And in copy video link, we import it and call it. Happy with that as a thing. And in get video link, we also need to copy video link in that hunk. And in the actual command, use it instead of the other one. So we stage that one, leaving that one out. It's the only thing that's not in there. And then we say make, oh wait, actually these are all amendments to the previous commit, aren't they? Yeah, we changed where it actually went. Ooh, that was close. We'll just go ahead and amend the previous commit in that case. Now I'm going to stage or stash that, I should say. And we're going to go to here. That clear log at the top. There you go. So just that's the thing that I was going to try. Yeah. So just a quick, you have to write a custom command for that, right? That basically defers. Occasionally, there are some things where when one command takes an action, it relies on some state in the core, but the state in the core for those things isn't updated while a command is running. Control has to execute back to the main event loop in the main thread to allow things to happen. Another example of that can bite you is if you write a file into the packages folder somewhere, it shows up as a resource when you do Sublime find resources, but not inside of the command where it was executed, because although the index happens in another thread, it doesn't update the data structures until that command is finished executing. I think actually, if you want, you can delay for weird long lengths of time to get that to work, but that's suboptimal. For the purposes of this, I think I like clear log being at the top. In which case that should go there. So any command you want to add can go there. That one has nothing, huh? We'll call it URL. What the heck? Kind of funky that this menu has 4 items and they're all separated out. Yeah, Ashwin says I think there's no way without writing a plugin. I would tend to agree. Maybe that's the use case for a plugin or a plugin command named Noop that just does nothing except wait for something to call. I guess that would just be a standard command, wouldn't it? Yeah. A delay function. A delay command that you provide as arguments to it the name of another command, an argument dictionary, and a delay, and it calls set timeout for you and executes that command so that you could reuse it anywhere you need something like that. I have a vague recollection that something similar was needed for something completely unrelated to that, but I can't remember what it was at this point. Boop. Okay. What we're going to do here is very quickly stash this change like so, and then that, and this is the one that added in the clear logs from the command panel, Yeah, so we will do those two. And then go back to where we were so that looks a little bit nicer. Right on. So that's always in there, but that's also in there. Cool. I'm liking that. That's cool. That was an hour's worth of time. But we got that going well, and that was a minor success. So I downloaded some assets to have fireworks and confetti falling, but weirdly they didn't seem to be in the format that they said they were in because my compositing software was unwilling to load them, and I did not have enough time because I mentioned at the beginning of the stream I'm officially on vacation. Started yesterday. I don't go back to work until the 29th, so there might be some sort of ad hoc stream somewhere given the actual time to do so. But for the time being, my wife is an avid baker. We haven't had a lot of a chance to bake for all through this year because of COVID, because we can't really eat baked goods and she likes to bake, so we would just bake to give to people. Normally we would do that by making gigantic cookie platters and leaving them in the lobby around Christmas time on Christmas Day and New Year's um, and Boxing Day as well, if there are any left over, because there's a lot of people in here that have families. This is sort of an older development. It was originally a retirement community where you had to be 55 or older, and then they lowered the age. That's why I get to be in here now without having to wait a little bit longer. So they have like a lot of grandkids and family that come visit them, and they have to go through the lobby to get upstairs. So we like to, give back and give to people. We haven't been able to do that all year, but we have just a metric ton of the plastic takeaway containers that we get at Costco. We bought at Costco, the same kind that you would get if you took food out. So what my wife's doing is baking up all of the cookies, and then instead of having a big platter, we're gonna make individual sealed boxes of cookies and leave those out there. So as you go by, you can grab some of them, and free Tupperware container too, so we get to still do that and keep everybody safe. um, and as a result of that, getting close to Christmas time, now's the time when the baking happens, so I'm on tasting duty and also helping duty and cleaning duty at times. And this is like a large operation. For 3 days before we start baking any cookies, she's getting her recipe straight, getting all of the ingredients, pre-measuring everything and labeled bags, and we have them all set up so that when it comes time to make a cookie, you just grab the bags, dump them in the thing in the correct order, and you're good to go. Really streamlines things when you're making far too many cookies, depending on what you mean by far too many cookies. I mean, I wouldn't knock it, except that we're not really allowed to have that sort of thing. It is not good for us. So we are good to go on that. So I guess the next stage of this is something that will write the cache information out to disk, which is theoretically very easy to do. Um, Creating a file, writing to it, that's not that hard. If we wanted to be super clever about it, we could create a file alongside that one, save it, make sure everything is correct inside of it, then erase the other one and rename it over. But since none of this information is earth shattering, if it goes missing, that's not really of any concern. So I don't know that we necessarily need to worry about that. The question does arise, should the cache data be encrypted on disk? And I'm presuming the answer to that would be yes, uh, just because some of the information that's in there is private uh, after a fashion. I mean, anything about videos that are public on YouTube, you should be able to fetch their information out of the API all you like. I mean, they're even displayed on the YouTube page when you go to view the video. So it's just unlisted videos and private videos that you want to keep secret from prying eyes. Private videos, because if you made them private, having the video ID doesn't allow someone to view a private video. They will still be stopped from viewing it. But unlisted videos you can view. So if you had it unlisted for a reason and someone got a hold of your cache, they would be able to look at the thing. So we probably want to encrypt it just for that reason. Um, let's say we want to clearly load the cache when the plugin is starting. And then when do we save to the cache? I'm guessing uh, after every request, but probably not every request. Um, I'm thinking we want some sort of debounced right, because we can see when we look in the log, when we do something like get video link, it has to fetch channel details, and then it has to fetch the list of playlists, and then it has to fetch, the contents of the playlist, perhaps. So this is all like a bunch of requests. We don't want to keep hammering this thing to disk through all of these points. We could wait until it's been 10 seconds since the last time a request asked to persist something to disk. That maybe that could even be a configurable thing. We debounce that, so every time we write something to the log, we or sorry, every time we write something to the cache, we say flush this to disk, but it waits for a while before it happens. Say in a timeout call of some variety on the async thread, perhaps, because then we don't have to create our own thread. So we get to do that, and then it could ignore the request if it's not the latest request. And then we're good to go. And then we need a command to actually flush the cache. So maybe we do that one first. A request, something that allows us to tell the API to flush its cache out, because we may want to do that from the command palette. We may want to do it from a command, but before we get into the logistics of loading and saving and all of that stuff, we probably want as much of the actual code as possible already done for actually working with it. And then we know that all of the places that we need to actually make a modification. So I think that was going to be the next thing. We'll go from there and see what we can come up with. Theoretically, debouncing stuff is very easy, but I always have to look at an example to make sure I'm doing it correctly. We'll call this flush cache. Like so. That's going to be that method, and we'll copy that and jump to authenticate. We'll do it right under. We'll copy this one actually. Oh, there's one other thing I just thought of. Hang on. Before we get too far on this thing, we'll just do this first. That one. It's got to do something with this to do about this thing theoretically blocking things too. That is no bueno, if you will. Flush away any stored cache information that. We'll just return back the text flushed. Let's pretend there's no way that this call that we're about to make can possibly fail. So that's flush cache, and the deauthenticate does the exact same thing, right? It calls init cache there. It does both of those things before it tries to do this, just to make sure. Maybe when we flush the cache, we might also delete the file on disk, or we might write it back as an empty thing to make that a little bit easier. But that should be all we need for that, except for a command to actually do it. So that's going to be, yeah, oh, that's right. I really should change the name of logout to deauthorize or authorize to log in. I'm kind of unhappy with that particular choice of name, but we'll call this flush cache. So this is YouTube editor flush cache command. Request that the network thread flush its cached data, forcing all new. Not for nothing, but YouTube's API probably is happy for something like this. We don't need to do anything special for this. This should only happen when we're logged in. So just to verify, that is a bad example of that. Man, are they all like that? Copy video link, edit video details. Clearly not that one. That's just one used in there. I'm trying to remember. We don't technically need a run method at all. But I can't remember. There may not be any more examples of that actually being the case. I think I may have factored enough stuff. Yeah. We want this. This automatically makes sure that this command will only be available, so we don't need to do anything with that. We just need to put stuff in authorized, and we're good to go. Authorized with a D, right? Right, because the authorized request goes to internal auth, which saves the stuff in case you care about it, and then calls authorized directly as if, oh, sorry. Yeah, authorized means you're authorized. That one is the one request that changes the name of things. Normally when you make a request, like whatever the name is, the handler ends up being the same. Okay, so we don't need a run method. No, we do not. We just need this, def authorized. We don't need an is enabled because we already got that. And we just need to say self.request, and the request is something I've already forgotten. It is flush cache. The thread is going to log that something is requesting a cache flush. We don't need to worry about that at all. And we do have a new command here again. Now, are we using the log? No, we're not using that. And we're not using, well, we are using that. So we don't need either of these things. We can get rid of those. That should still nicely load. We'll, of course, double check that with the old sanity check in just a moment. And we'll go back to say here, from dot flush cache import this. And flush the network request cache. Throw a little bit of that in there, close that file. This one also needs it. Oops, I typed that in the wrong order. So that should make the command present, and then we will add it to the command palette. Caption, YouTube editor. YouTube editor flush cache. And it's already got the comma on it. We don't need to reload that at all. So in theory, we can say this, and then we can cancel out. Now, if I did it again, we can see it saying cached, cached, cached. So those ones are cool. And then we flush. Oh. I forgot my own thing. Let's say we maybe do need the log in here. Keep that one. Okay, let's try that again. I forgot the magic of, when you make a request, you need to have something that handles the response. Even if you don't care, that could just be a thing with pass. And as we saw there, the name of the method it expects, unless you tell it otherwise, is something that has the exact same name as the request, but with an underscore in front of it, just to make the whole callback mechanism a lot nicer. Okay, so let's go ahead and get a YouTube link. And we got that information. We do it again, and it fetched the details, but it was cached, and it fetched playlists, but it was cached. Came up with the exact same information. Then we flush the cache data. It has been flushed, and now when we say get video link, it has to fetch the information again. Absolutely perfectamundo. That took it a little bit of a while, but we don't care about that. And now we can use our fancy clear logic to do it again. And that is like blazingly fast. If we want to flush the cache, we can. And then when we get, it's got to do it all again when we go inside. That is also a success unto itself. And I need to update my magic stream deck thing here, if you will, because I keep having to remember that that is this key. Maybe. Ow. Cool. So we did that. And let's see, networking, flush, all looks good. Stage, add flush, looks good. Add flush, looks good. Add flush, looks good. I'm gonna leave that one alone. New command, yeah, we want that. And we double check that we missed something in this one. So let's go ahead and fix that right now. Do not let me forget that, or reloading things does not work the way one would expect it to. Right on. And as much as I like doing keyboard stuff in these in Sublime, although I do use my mouse a little bit more than I otherwise would while I'm streaming. And for certain things that I could probably use a key binding for, but sometimes I do and sometimes I don't, like swapping tags. When it comes to using Sublime Merge, I like to do everything with the mouse because I don't want muscle memory to very quickly hit 3 sequences of keys and stage something without taking the time to look and know this is the hunk I indeed meant to stage. So the only unstaged thing is that. We might even check the old summary there and see we added a new request. Yes, we did. And we added it there, and that's the only thing in that file, which is correct. It's added to the command palette, which is what we want. It's added to the list of command things in source to be exported back to the plugin. It is here in the actual commands part of this thing, and the actual source of it is that. So we got that going on. Now, was there something I was thinking of between this and that? And why is there still? Oh, this thing is just going to have this change in it for a ridiculous period of time, I'm thinking. Theory being, this YouTube editor get video link command takes 2 arguments optionally, by tags and by playlists. You can provide none of them, one of them, or both of them, and it controls whether or not you get asked to select a tag first, and then whether or not you asked to, well, playlist first, then inside of there, do you get tags first or second, and then after that, the video thing. And you can decide you don't want tags and you don't want playlists, in which case you just see the list of videos, or you can say you want playlists but not tags, and you get shown playlists, and then you pick a video inside. And if you can say you want tags but not playlists, then when you pick the list of videos, it's by tags first. All that stuff. how do we present that in the command palette is something I've been sort of twiddling in the back of my mind. We're going to have to come with something soon because we're halfway through Devember here now, right? Maybe even past the 50% point. But one thing to do would be have a bunch of these entries in the command palette for each one. Get video link by tags. We can see it's the exact same thing when it does that. I can add a get video link by playlists and then get video link by tag and playlist. Works. Maybe get video link takes those two things and they don't have default values and there's an input handler so that it asks you. Maybe we don't ask and just always assume. Maybe it takes the arguments, their default values are as we see here, so you get everything, but if you want to, you can modify the command palette to choose one or the other. That might be the best way to go. I think maybe that's what we're going to do here, now that I've thought about it. I've been ticking that in the back of my head. Cut this out and put it in this one. We might even do it this way. By tags true and let's see. This one is going to be playlist, then videos. Maybe we want two first here. We always want playlists, but we might not always want tags. We can set the defaults here. The command will assume both, and we can tweak this as we need. So let's say we, yeah, I think that might be the way to do this. We'll say by tags false in this one, and by playlists true in this one. And then this one's going to be the exact same, only the caption's going to be different, right? So we copy that. Oh, whoops. Only here, whoops, that's not the one I thought it was. Hang on. I removed that part, didn't I? I did. Get video link. What did I call it before? By tag. Yeah, okay. It's still playlist, but now by tags is true, like so. Okay. That seems cool. We'll take this back, and then both of these default to false in that case, which is what I had before, so I don't need to change anything there. So if we say get video link, like this, it's going to ask us, because we did that one, we're always going to get asked a playlist because that seems like the handy way to do that. But once we pick one, we just get to see the videos inside there. And if we decided we wanted one by tag, we get the same thing, but now we get the tags first. Tags aren't going to be as useful to me as using playlists until I get on the lengthy process of fixing my tags. So let's go ahead and check that in. And that is just a change to the command palette. So we can go ahead and stage that and say alter the order. Oh, support command. Oh, videos multiple ways. We favor always using playlists. So tags are optional and the user can override both as needed. Okay. And I'd probably move that one farther down the list. I wish Sublime provided a way to move cursors within deleted diffs as well. Oh, in the inline diff. Yeah. Whoops. I did that wrong. I did that way wrong. Yo. The way that it's scrolling is really messing with my head, man. Look, I'm just trying to do a thing here. But you can't click in there at all, right? Oh, I guess you can. But you stay inside. I've never really played with that much. It's very infrequent that I actually need to navigate inside of one of those bits. I just like the ability to copy it out. I'm glad that it's not a phantom, because then you couldn't interact with it at all. So we got that going on. That might be worth a feature request, but I have a vague recollection that someone asked about that previously, and there's a reason why it works that way. I can't remember the details of that though, because that's usually the case for those sorts of things. Okay, so I guess now we're just pretty much all in here. Yeah, so the place where the cache credentials are stored. I like the idea of this. What was the reason for this? We need that path. We might need it a lot, and I don't like the idea of constantly doing this sort of thing. So yeah, let's go ahead and copy that out and say stored cache path. The data request cached file. Boop. And this was going to be stored cache path instead of that. Boop. That'll be enough for us to be able to load that thing in. And need to be able to load it out. I have a feeling that, oh, there used to be code for this in here way back when, and then I modified this thing to use settings instead of loading a JSON file that was packed in because, important not to leak my client secret and such. Say load cached data. It's going to be something. That's going to be load and return back. We can shuffle all these into one place in the file once we work out what all of them are supposed to be. But for right now, because it's sort of based on this stuff. Oh, that's save cache data. Sorry. We need a little bit of this action down here. I put it in the wrong place. Load cache. Well, we'll call this load cached request data so that it's very clear what it is it's doing. Retrieved and return back an object that represents, let's say cache data from a previous run. Okay, let's say. I think, yeah. This will return none if there is currently no cached data present. We're going to put the code in here that we're interested in. Which is this. Why does this not? Oh, it doesn't return there because it needs to return something else. So we can, whoops, I put that in the wrong spot. My bad. We want this. We don't, it's not stored credentials path, right? It is stored cache path is the thing that we're trying to load here. We're going to read it. Well, we'll say binary for now. We're not going to. I think that'll do what we want. I'm going to comment these ones out for now. I don't want to actually have the encryption in here until we can verify that it's actually putting stuff into the file the way we expect it to. So that will be one part of that, and that theoretically compiles, right? So we can load the cache data out. We'll also test saving it, and then we can tweak it up and make it smarter later. Always a good plan, I find. It'll return none if the file's not found. I think what this means, it'll raise an exception if the file is broken, so don't break it, which is the format error that trying to decode JSON that's not valid JSON generates, which isn't handled here for reasons I don't remember right now, but might have to do with how it was a safety for me that if it didn't do that, then probably my encryption code was broken. Okay, that needs to have another one of those. That's loading the thing. And now we need to actually save it. So we would do that here. Save cached request data. Hello, Ben. How's your afternoon going? I'm trying my best to try to determine what the time zones for people are for me. Late afternoon, almost quitting time. Already quitting time. Clearly, I only have a memory for things like remembering which one of the cookies my wife bakes is my favorite, and less so for time zones, which I find quite evil. Encrypt and given a cache data object, cache it into the cache it, write it into an encrypted file for later use in another session. Let's say. Afternoon is correct. Yay! I'm glad to hear it's going well as well. So far, things seem to be going well. I haven't had hardly any stupid bugs. We're glossing over the part where I looked at a line of code that needed the title of a video and the URL, and then I made a helper function that only took a URL, and then couldn't figure out why it was complaining briefly that it didn't have a title. But apart from that, I mean, going well. And I'm also on vacation now, starting yesterday. So we're in full cookie mode here. Several, maybe even a dozen cookies have been constructed. That's half of the total Christmas cookie load. Sometime this weekend, I'm going to be frosting a lot of cookies. So things are going pretty well. If I had to say anything bad about anything, it's that it's pouring outside right now, which makes walking the dog kind of a trial because he doesn't like the rain. He's been sleeping a lot as a result. Let's see. And again, we'll copy this stuff, but I don't think we need to really care about this part at the moment. Cache data becomes cache data, so we can just do yaw and write it direct, I would guess. And that's going to be cool too. All right, so let's try to gather all of these things together into one place. There's the stored cache path, then load, then save. That seems like a nice way. I probably did that in a crunky, stupid order. Move that one up here. And then move this one up here. Ah! Too far? Not far enough. There. The stored cache path is this, and that's loading it, and that's saving it. All right. Quote unquote, according to me, everything is going to work fantastically here. I used to mention in streams that one of the things my coworkers and I used to say after we'd finished writing some code was, "Watch this," and then it's supposed to be a big show when you do something and it actually works right the first time, but 99 times out of 100 something explodes in a horrific fashion, and then everybody laughs about it. And this is an example of why I like to, from time to time, have a little helper thing over there to remind me. So, how do we tie this thing in now? How about that? How about that as a question? When this initializes, it calls init cache. Let's see. So here's where we might say, we actually don't even really care about that one per se. We only really care about that one. We need an awesome watch this pop up. Hey, hey. One of the things I'd like to, get myself squared away on is a green screen so that I could record footage of myself popping up in the bottom of the window. Uh, that is sort of the genesis for this one. I want to have, a sad version of myself, but right now I'd have to rotoscope myself out of all of the frames for that, so that's been kind of put off. But oh yeah, also, now that I got someone watching here, I've been sort of working on something else here, so I'm gonna push a button here, and then I'm gonna come back. This may be loud. I'm not sure. It seemed to be the same volume level to me, but clearly I have potential hearing issues. So let's see. That really seems loud, but it doesn't seem loud in a recording. I don't know. But anyway, I'm working on fancier transitions for going back and forth between things instead of just fades, but not for everything, because obviously that would get real irritating real fast. But, maybe I could have a version of my face in there smiling. It's a fine line between how much stuff you can put into a quick 2-second transition to actually get something visual, because anything you want to do takes longer than 2 seconds, and then it takes forever for it to go, and everybody's going to hate it. Let's see. Loaded data is equal to load cached request data. Let's say we're going to load this data in, and then oh, how about this? How hacktastic is this as an operation? Will that actually compile? Kind of like it. Because that function is supposed to return the actual JSON or none. So we got that. And just to verify, I mean, everything still seems to work. So that's always nice. Now, the other thing is this, I guess. As I said, in order to do initial testing on this, what we're going to do is, what's the last request that's actually going to do something here? Probably not video. Possibly, yeah, no, not that one. Temporarily, like so. All right, this is some scary business right here. This happens when we ask for playlist contents. So let's go ahead and very quickly go to here. Oops, I want that one. Right. There is no such file here. About what I would expect. Okay, and then we close that out. Open up this bad boy and say, let's get a video link. And we need playlist details, so let's say that. Oh no. All right. Right. I think that's a potential easy fix. Awful, but easy. Okay, let's verify. File still doesn't exist. That's what we expect. Get a link. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Oh no. Oh no, I stored it into the wrong thing. Ah, that's unfortunate. I should have put this one in there. This is why we test people. All right, so we're gonna have to first of all do this. Yeah, that one exploded real good. Like, we're gonna have to log out and in again for this to work. Yeah, I'm pretty sure you can delete the file that now officially doesn't have anything in it like it should have. Oh, that might. No, I don't think so. I'll stick this over here. Let's see, we want that one, and we want that one, and yeah, I know it's unsafe. I wrote it. I'm aware of how awful I am. Boop. Okay. Hopefully we don't have to do that too frequently whilst testing this. So we are now logged in, so we could say get video link. It fetches the information. It really? Come on, man. We'll open it up here. Whoop. That's not the terminal. YouTube editor. Okay. As one might expect, it's an empty file, but now that it's been created, we're good to go. Okay. That's the point that it's blowing up on, right? In line 126. Yeah. Oh, wait a minute. Maybe that was less of an issue and more I'm just a moron. Stored client path just gets it. I need to convert it to a JSON object first. Right. There was more to that call than just that, which is good, because then this should probably still work. And as an added bonus, now that we have this file open, it'll totally pop in up there, theoretically, unless I broke the whole thing. Well, how did I manage to break that? Oh, and did I clobber the... I may be running into that thing where I said this doesn't check for broken files, so don't break them. So that's an unfortunate turn of events. Um, hmm. In core, in the network manager, in the network thread, in init cache. Can't use a string pattern on a bytes-like object? Oh, is that just because of... All right, let's check this out. Oh, that's... Yeah. Still need that part too, I guess. Because I opened it in binary mode, I forgot. Binary mode because it's going to be encrypted at some point. Okay. But it may just be unhappy for general reasons now. Need to check for the existence of the file first. Interesting. How was I doing this before? Maybe it's happening outside of here and that's why. Cache credentials tries to write it. That's always going to work. Oh, file not found error returns none. But for some reason I don't have that here. I see. No, wait, that's the save. That's the save. We don't care about that one. We care about the load. Wait. Oh, the file actually exists on disk. It shouldn't. Okay. Right. I get you. I'm tracing the logic now. Normally the file would either be there or not be there. Maybe we want to get on that whole making it work thing. Okay. Boop. And then we got to pick contents of this, which should cause that to populate when it's done, if it saves. Well, it managed to blow that up, so we got that going on. And that is one hell. Is not... Okay, so it does need to be made, whoops, made into a dict. I meant to do that. Okay. But that is, again, not the end of the world. I sort of expected that to be the case. I think we can do that. I think we can do that. Yeah, it's going to break now because that file got to have stuff in it. Okay. Yeah, okay. We're inching our way along. We're going to get a video link. I did not expect this to go swimmingly well. Still, I'm surprised. Okay, well, let's check into, is there something in here that would allow us to snag the actual dictionary that it was created with? Because otherwise we're kind of screwed. Create a new dictionary with keys. Okay. The newly created dictionary is wrapped in Dotty. I don't want it to be wrapped in Dotty, man. Oh, to dict. All right. Derpity derp. If I knew more Python, I think I would probably have known that that was the case. I thought that's what that was going to do, but you know. One too many now. I think we're really zeroing in on something, and I'm trying not to lay on the failure button because I don't want everybody to be super unhappy about it. But okay, here we go. Now what? But we're not, you know, what? I am not entirely, oops, that is not what I meant to do. Self.cache is clearly a dotty dict. Let's do this. In order to keep ourselves mildly sane. Has this somehow accidentally been double dottied? Is that a thing? Did I not? Oh, I didn't comment the code out. I thought I did. Shoot. Da, da, da. Save cache data. Let's do this. Oh, were we doing something stupid down here? I think we were, weren't we? No. Okay. Self.cache is just a dotty dictionary. This is printing both of them. I mean, it really looks like that's just a dictionary, man. So I'm not sure. It is. Ashwin just asked in the chat, what is Dotty? It's a library I found at this location. I'll plunk this into the chat, like so. Basically, it wraps a dictionary and it allows you to get at sub-content inside of the thing a little bit easier. I'm looking in the wrong thing. For example, like this is a dictionary with a dictionary in it, so you have to use this particular access jiggy in order to get at it. But if this was a Dotty dictionary, you could say client config installed.token URI like this, and internally its get accessor knows that it needs to look up this inside as a key and then do that to be able to pull the value for that key out, which makes the code look a little bit nicer. And if there's an array in there, you could say the first item in the installed one, I want the token URI, or the second one, or so forth, which I found nice to work with for this because the results of the YouTube data API is a lot of stuff. So say you wanted the default URL for this, you'd have to say dictionary, video, square brackets, snippet, square bracket, thumbnails, square bracket, default, square bracket, URL in order to get it. Or you could just say snippet.thumbnails.default.url. Kind of like a JSON path kind of thing, I guess, sort of. Um, there's a reason why I'm not using that instead of this. I can't remember what that is right now, but if I had to guess, it's because this thing is just a file you drop in and you're good to go. And anything else was a super complicated library that was harder to vendor inside of the package. So why is this? I mean, I don't disagree that it's not JSON serializable, but why is it having that problem to begin with? Save cache request data is what we're calling to actually try to write this thing to disk. And it's calling it for self.cache, which is definitely a Dotty thing right there. It makes me think like I might have accidentally done something funky with it. The loaded data is either the loaded request data or this. So the loaded request data should not be dotted when it comes out. So that's something to keep in mind. But I don't think we were doing that anyway. We were just returning the data, assuming we could ever actually get it to do something. That's a thing, right? I'm not just making that up. The first one is a Dotty, and the second one is the dictionary, which is exactly what we would expect it to be. So, do this up here. Jason can't. Unless there's something about this thing that is inherently unserializable, but since it's the result of JSON being sent and it's just a dictionary, I can't imagine in what circumstance that would actually be the case. And it would be really nice if the library said why instead of complaining about it, but you know, all else being equal. Let's try that. All right. The first one is the dictionary and the other one's unhappy, so we don't need to do anything about that. What we will say is print json.dumps cache data. Is that call broken? It is, isn't it? It's passing indent equals 4 to the wrong thing. I can't imagine why that would have any effect on this, but you know. Do, do, do. So even though we're not doing that part, and we're doing it here, from YouTube editor.lib import Dotty. No? Is that not where that lives? Really seems like it is. You know, sometimes you really expect things to go wrong, and then this isn't one of them. That's exported from that. Oh. Derpity derp. There we go. That catches, it's still catching me out. I keep forgetting. Okay, so so something like y'all. Probably should have captured it into a thing. So that's that. And y is equal to x dot to dict, like so. Okay. Okay. So why is it throwing that and thinking it's that if the thing that we're doing in our code, when we get called for save cached request data, which takes self.cache, why is that taking the cache data, turning it into a dictionary, printing it, which tells us it's a dictionary, and then when we try to dump it, it says, "Hey, it's not a dictionary, or it's a dotty." I am not sure why that's the case. I'm going to quit and restart just to make sure we're in a completely clean state, because this is really quite vexing. So let's just verify everything we have here. Stored cache path, we'll do that. Is a file named YouTube editor cache data.json in the cache path. It normalizes it, it stores that inside of its little .path thing here and returns it back. And then every other time you call it, it just returns it. So it's, pardon me, memoizing the value, so it only has to calculate it once because it assumes the cache path isn't going to change around inside of the package while Sublime is running, or while inside of Sublime's data directory, I should say. Presumably, once it's there, it's there. Loading cache data opens the stored cache path, which is this, which is YouTube editor cache data, as binary, reads it and decodes it as UTF-8, and then tries to load JSON out of it, which should return a string. And this should also catch the JSON error of that file being garbage and return none after displaying an error. And we're probably going to fix that once we get this done because this is irritating. So save cache data, takes something, and it calls toDict on it. Pardon me for bumping the microphone, which stores the exact same thing as there. We can see that happening. So it calls toDict on it. So this is Dotty. It returns the underlying dict. We print the type of that thing and the content of that thing, and then try to dump that thing. And again, all of those, as we can see, are all the exact same thing. We're not actually trying to write anything to anywhere. That's all of those changes. When init cache is called, this is probably wrong here, but we'll worry about that in a minute. It gets some loaded data, which is the JSON that it loaded from the other thing, or if that returns none, this stub right here. Now, the reason why this is wrong is when we clear the cache out, if we call init cache, it'll just be loaded right back in, which is not what we want, but we can fix that in a minute. And then self.cache becomes a Dotty version of loaded data right there. So this is going to be a Dotty dictionary, and this returns the dictionary, and this returns the dictionary. So either way, it's a Dotty wrapping that dictionary, and that's all that happens inside of that. Now here inside of playlist contents, it does stuff, And the last thing it does is add stuff into the playlist contents for this playlist ID, which maybe could be a Dottie thing. I haven't looked into that. I think trying to do that for a set might not work for various obvious reasons. And then we call save cached request data with self.cache, which is the Dottie because it's the thing that's internal. And again, that is this thing here. So with all of that being the case, when we get video link like this and get the content of something, we'll pick a small one, that's still generating an error. We're going to turn on word wrap. We're going to see that in the save cached thing, this line says that class, this is an instance of class dict, and this is the content. And oh, I see what the problem is now. Son of a bitch. That is a real rump pain, man. I can't believe I didn't notice that before. This is a double fail. Not only is the top level thing a Dottie, but all of the internal ones are too. So this has to do some sort of recurse through the entirety of the structure, finding every possible Dottie and grabbing it. Or does it? We might have a way out. Might. Serialize to blah using this conversion table. This has the same meaning as blah, blah, blah. Oh, hang on a second. There's not currently an on build. Go ahead and fiddle that. Right as rain. Okay, now. Ensure ask check circular true, alone and true. CLS. I think that is the magic. This have the same meaning as in dump, right? So I think the JSON module always produces bloop. To use a custom JSON encoder subclass, specify it with this. Okay, so what we need to extend this subclass and implement a default method with another method that returns a serializable object for O if possible. Otherwise, it should call the superclass implementation to raise type error. Okay, well, we'll give this a jingle jangle jingle, if we will. I'm going to jump this over to this other monitor just for the moment, maybe not in a way that completely obscures everything, just so I can reference it. So we can actually test this bad boy out. Okay. And then we don't have to do any of this stuff at all, and that would be fantastic. Okay, so we're going to need a little something right here. Let's say, I'm going to say class. Now we'll call it Dottie encoder. How about that? And the subclass is JSON.JSON encoder. To extend this to recognize other objects, subclass and implement a default method. Okay, I'm going to click on that just to see. Def default self O. If is instance O Dotty, is that what it's called? No, it's going to be Dotty, isn't it? This says it's for example to support arbitrary iterators. You could perform a default where it gets an iterable and returns it. Otherwise, let the base class default method raise the type error. So if that is that, then we can say return o.toDict. Otherwise, return json.jsonencoder.default. Default self and O. Stop putting a 0 in there. That's not going to be the right thing. And a simple custom JSON encoder that knows how to encode a Dotty dictionary. And that being, Dotty is a subclass of dict, so all the methods you would normally expect to work in dict still work, so you can get individual keys and such out of it. I sincerely hope. Otherwise, this whole operation is a gigantic bust unless there's something inside of that thing that can actually do something like this. Fingers crossed on this one because we're coming up on, quite some time here. And if you are just new to the stream, we are trying to write a Dotty dictionary to JSON and having a modicum of fun doing so. By returning the original wrapped dictionary. An issue with this, of course, is that loading it isn't going to have Dotty dictionaries either, but we can get ourselves around that later. I'm going to say that for the purposes of this, we're going to stash the data in and call it good, but then disable it in the commit so that it's not actually enabled, because everything that uses this is going to need more work to be able to do something. And that's a part of taking our cache data as we currently have it and wrapping how it gets put in. Because right now, all of the items are dottying things as they need and then adding them to the cache. We need to abstract that away a little bit so it happens auto-magically. And then it can pull it out auto-magically as well. Okay. That should be enough to get that theoretically doing something. That's cool. And then we're going to back this up. And one more time. We need to say dumps. That's this one. And Dotty encoder. We're taking it to, right? Okay. Actually, maybe there's a decoder too. And then I could do it the same thing in reverse. That would be cool. Okay. This is the moment of truth. Watch this. We get a video link. We download that. Well, I mean, it's pretty close. I didn't import that one. Whoops. Okay. One of them's a function that, or one of them's the class, and one of them's a helper that wraps the class. That's the deal with that. Okay. Now for sure, watch this. It's kind of like the coder equivalent of hold my beer, isn't it? Well, I'm not going to lie. I was expecting more action there. Oh, I see. That wasn't actually triggering somehow. Hmm. Oh, am I in? I'm in the wrong plugin host because I restarted, aren't I? So we need a little something like yaw. Hmm. Hmm. I don't know why that's not turned on. We'll get to the bottom of this, or we'll end the stream and pick it up on another day. Is this sort of thing a nice insight into finding a problem and troubleshooting it? So let's see. It doesn't use this in some sort of recursive fashion. Checking if something is a dotty, that's not a dotty. And then it blows up because dotty can't be encoded. Um, I mean, that technically worked. Don't do this. Did that not reload that? Can someone explain to me what this thing is actually doing? Here's our code. Incoming cache data is going to be this. We're going to do that because we want to verify that this is actually reloading things. And we're going to go ahead and clear this console. And then we're going to go ahead and hit that and say the smallest possible item. We get the error as we expect. Incoming cache data is not a dotty. And then the next one is this, where it has, oh, sorry, that's just printing the string version of it. It's saying if that is so, maybe I should be using repr instead of that. Oops. I'm not above hopefully getting to the inside of this. I mean, and clearing. Okay, well, I guess my real confusion here is that this says that it's a dotty and this fuller log says that it's a dotty, and then the code in our custom encoder says checking to see if something is a dotty, and then it calls instance for O and dotty, and then it says it's not this thing that's a dotty isn't. So shoot it back to here. Because I kind of expected that if something was an instance of something, that it would report as an instance of something. That's kind of how this whole thing goes, and I'm obviously doing something so mind-bogglingly stupid here. How does isInstance work that this is not a thing that it is? That is at the base of all of the issues that we're having here. Let's see. However, if I call isInstance default route, it unexpectedly returns false. The class definition is really straightforward and uncomplicated. I'm baffled by this. Hey, you and me both. Import route and create default route using route.route, invoke reload route to pull in some code changes to the module, or just for fun, doesn't matter if the module is unchanged, reload will still reload it. Ben says, is instance works as you're expecting? I shall. Yeah, I'll throw that in there. This thing that I have in this other window seems to indicate that perhaps there is some magic to do with, whoops, do that, with the reload that's happening here. Can you print multiple things like this? No, huh? Oh, I probably didn't mean to do that. ID of type, that one and that one. Okay, let's go. I'm gonna guess that this is gonna return things that are different, and it's because this thing over here says invoke reload route to pull in code changes to the module, and it doesn't matter if it's unchanged or not. It somehow manages to funk things up in an unfortunate way, which is the bad, such as it is. Okay, so let's reload. Whoops, that's fully reloaded, right? We'll do it again just to make sure, because I was talking while I did it. And do. Okay, so definitely not the same thing as one would expect. Okay, which is, the ultimate conclusion for something like that. But now nothing has been reloaded. So now it works. So what is the solution to this? Because I need to be able to reload this thing. Is there a clever end run on? Now that I did that, if I reload it, if I do it again, it should fail, right? Yeah. So yeah. Here's what I'm reading on this monitor over here, which is saying this. I'm definitely reloading this, not here, but somewhere else. So I'm surprised that everything. Oh, but you know what? There's extra stuff happening here because I'm using auto package reloader here. So I've noticed that import its module and access it every time. Oh, that's good. I was thinking of putting a helper function inside of that module, but I want to test something first here just to see. Because I've run into this issue in override audit in a slightly different way, and I bet you this is the same thing. We're going to say get video link like this, okay? And then we're going to pick the small thing, and it worked. Worked perfectly fine. Now, if I come down to this thing, when I save this, plugin reloaded is going to call, well, this calls reload on lib and source, and this causes everything to be reloaded inside of the package. This is what would happen if you modified this and then did the, or if you were to put this in the ignored packages because the package is being updated, I should say. So now if I do it, it should still work. No, huh? All right. I've had issues with this in the past in override audit because when automatic package reloader reloads things, it reloads things from the inside out instead of the outside in, or from the left to the right instead of the right to the left, which probably makes sense, but I had a weird dependency where something in here reloaded and then it also reloaded something else that caused the other thing to reload, and it ended up clobbering away some data. But if that's the case, well, import its module and access it. Okay, I guess that's the networking is in here. If this is the networking code that we're in and that's the other file, how do I import that module? Because you can't say import .dotty, right? That doesn't work. But, apart from that, that's the bit that I'm a little unsure of. Like, that is, obviously invalid. Am I allowed to just say this because it's actually a sibling? Maybe that's... No, huh? No, don't like that. No. Sure. No, no, no. Sure, give me the obvious thing that I'm doing everywhere else. Why don't you? Okay, well, I think I made it real angry now. Hang on. Where is that complaining? Do I have two of those things in here? Oh, did I not save the file? Okay, let's try that again. I expect the code to be horribly broken in other ways because the symbol is incorrect, right? Yeah. That we can deal with. That's super easy. Okay, let's go ahead and clobber. Well, let's put that there and clobber that there, let's say. Is that the order that I had that in before? Oh, there was this. Yeah, well, we'll worry about that in a minute. Yeah, I've been having a real hell of a time. I've been doing a lot of other non-plugin development work for the last couple of days, trying to get a project done for work using regular build systems, and I really got myself into the magic of some muscle memory there. Okay, there's going to be a lot of this action. And well, I guess both of those ones. All the words where it's uppercase except for that one. Whoops, don't do that. No, no, thank you. That's going to be dotty dot dotty for all of those bad boys. That's not going to have much effect on everything, I assume, because that other stuff is busted. Search for that. Yeah, that'll probably do. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That seems to be all of them. What are you doing to me here, man? I'm going to quit that and restart that. We're getting real close to the breaking point on things. All right, cool. We cool? I've noticed that occasionally using automatic package reloader to reload stuff causes other reloads to go a little bit wonky. If something breaks in the middle of the reload, I think it loses track of all of the things that it thought was supposed to be there. Okay. We got the fingers crossed. Okay, that one totally worked. That was pretty exciting. Okay. It'll probably work a second time too. So I'm going to reload this thing. And oh yeah, see now it's breaking there. So now the problem is you can't reload it. How did I mess that up? Let's look at what changed, shall we? Instead of doing that, it's doing that. So now everything should be dotty dot dotty, right? Assuming that that's how that actually worked to begin with. That's a whole new thing. That worked. That and that worked. And then some new stuff we don't really care about. This is the line that it was unhappy about, I think. And we called it there, so we prefixed it. We prefixed it there, and there, and there. Called it with that. Prefixed it, prefixed it. So, you know, this is a module that has that function and that class, yet in line 303 in this file, that doesn't work because function object has no attribute dotty, as if dotty was magically translated based on the previous import that's no longer there. An intriguing turn of events, I must say, because other than that, that's interesting. Why is that failing? Oh, because it couldn't initialize the thing, but the event listener is still calling stuff. Yeah, that's less worrisome at the moment, because presumably if it could actually reload the package properly, it wouldn't have a problem doing that. So just to clarify in my brain, it started up. It loaded some stuff. It loaded some stuff. It loaded some stuff. Here's should be where in this list? Whoops. Default. This is the initial package load, reloading all of those plugins. Package control loader. Something else in default. Oh, I guess because there's two plugin hosts loading things interleaved. Okay, that would make some sense. There's some default channel repository tools, more default, comment glory, hyperhelp, more hyperhelp. This would tend to indicate that file manager has somehow been updated to be in the new plugin host. I don't think it's had any updates in a while, so that's kind of suspect. Do. Reloading plugin YouTube editor.editor plugins loaded. So it successfully loaded this whole package the way that it currently exists on yon disk. And then we do this, and it does that thing where it totally works. But maybe we don't need to have that thing logging that anymore for the time being, because that's totally something that works. We'll clear the console. Now I'm going to push the reload button, and it no longer loads. Shot in the dark, maybe rename the Dotty function in Dotty to something else. Yeah, I was just to see what it does. I was also pondering the idea of, I don't even know if this is possible in Python, to be perfectly honest, because I got TypeScript on the brain right now. You can do this, right? To make it definitely be something distinct from the thing. That's probably not going to reload now because it's broken. Just as a, oh, go back one. I did that wrong. Shoot. I did not mean to do that. Okay, so every instance of this, same sort of thing, right? Just to see if there's a symbol conflict there. Can't imagine why that would matter. But it, okay, well, that loaded. Whoops. Get video link. I mean, that's still doing the right stuff. Okay, so let's undo that. That persistent undo thing is pretty neat, by the way. Maybe I could just call the constructor for the thing instead of calling the function. But the fact that it seems to be replacing the module with something else. Does that, oh, I never tested. Does that, or I don't think I did. Oh, right. Fix that thing back the other way, why don't we? Just to see, did I test if I reload it with my own reloading code? Okay, so just to check, that totally works. And then we look at editor.py, clear this. Now that breaks it too. Any sort of reload. Just to see. This is the place where it's going all doolally because that's the first place that something is happening. Yeah, I know you don't have any attribute Dottie. That's totally cool, man. Okay. Class module, YouTube editor, libdottie from that thing. So at this point, that's totally what that was. Then, well, we'll do it this way. And oh, it's a function. Well, I mean, it's not wrong. But why did that happen? Whoops, that's right here. I assume if I just do that, it's going to give me the same value as this, right? I'll add a thing to make sure we're looking at the right one. Because you never know when you're dealing with an intractable problem. On initial load in init cache, Dottie is a module from YouTube editor libdottie from that location. And also it's the module from that location, as one might expect. So it's modules all the way down is what it is. And then it's a function. I am unfamiliar with the internals of Python enough to know what could potentially be going horribly awry here, because that really seems rather straightforward as a thing. It's almost as if when the module gets reloaded by the plugin host, the module gets lost in favor of is it possible that doing this in other places is messing up the module table? Probably, right? Did we just hit the same thing at the same point? I just saw your message say, "What's in your init?" just as I looked at this and thought, this seems sketchy as balls. Probably want a little something like yaw to make sure that it's the same everywhere. But why does it work for the first time and not the second time? Just due to the weird order of operations? From dot checks init before it checks the files. Ah, interesting. Now, this one, I would imagine, should still be, I mean, code is going to be bust all over. But if this is going down from here down into lib to pull Dottie out, and it's exported from here in the init as the module and not as the function, then theoretically that should still do what we want, right? Except that all the places where this happens, it needs to be this. Yeah. All right. Well, that is an excitingly intractable problem. That is. Let's see if that fixes anything. Okay, it's totally a module, and it's a module, and it's a module, and then it's still a module. Woohoo! Thank you, Python import mechanism, and thank you, Ben, for the insight there. because I would have stumbled on that by looking and saying, "Hey, I wonder if this is messing stuff up," without knowing the full mechanics of the import mechanism. But yeah, knowing exactly why is très cool. All right, so we fixed that in this file, which is cool. And then networking we already did something with, and this one we already did something with. So I guess that's theoretically all fixed. Watch this. That worked, and then that still worked, and then after it reloaded, it still worked. I'm gonna do this one now. I looked for an emoji of a guy rubbing his brow, but I was unable to find one at the place where I found those things, at least without spending a ridiculous amount of money. Okay, so back on track at the 3-hour mark. Let's go ahead and cycle through. Okay, let's say we remove that part out, and we remove that part out, and remove all of those parts out, so it just does the thing. Cool. That's what we want there. And then here, we'll say we don't really care about doing, we definitely don't need either of these things. And we don't need those things, because we can now safely do it as long as we do this in this call. That part is important. And in that case, we do want this, but maybe we don't do that, and we put the indent equals 4 in here instead of out in the right call where it's stupidly wrong. So that'll do something in the realms of interesting. We'll remove that because that's probably okay now. I mean, except that I deleted it. And then all these places where we call it, we have to call it the long way. That one can just have the cache data, and there's more of those things. Alrighty. Whew, we're in for some really exciting action here. Okay. This is so exciting that I'm going to quit Sublime and restart it. And everything seems to be cool. Let's clear the console. Let's look at this thing. And then we're going to call this. Now, what's supposed to happen here is that when I pick this, it downloads the contents of the playlist. And then once it gets the video details and all that stuff, it writes the cache to disk. It doesn't generate an error in the panel. And then this updates to look like some actual JSON data. That one was so close. I forgot to encode the stupid file. Okay, that's not so bad. Ben says Python imports are real fun, but sadly it's probably the best mechanism for fitting in with the language's other design choices. Yeah, I mean, it really strikes me as when you understand the full mechanics of what's going on behind the scenes, everything makes a ton more sense. The sort sometimes the little bit of the disconnect there is the idea that from logging import log and import queue and stuff is actually like a function call that you could be making if you imported stuff. 140 dot, probably need a little bit of that action, right? Because this is a binary file. Now I gotta do that thing to make that part work again. Okay. Check that business out. Now we can totally see what it did. It got a list of playlists, and it has channel details because it had to fetch those too. And it has playlist contents, and it has channel list, and it has playlist videos. This looks like all kinds of things. So we haven't actually received any video details yet. But for the playlist video with this ID, this is the information for that particular video for all of those things. This isn't a separate thing than video details because they're going to request different information. I didn't want to try to fiddle around with merging objects from here into there and double checking that one request had been made and another hadn't. And this is the list of all of the channels that are available in here. There should be only one, I would imagine. And there's also this channel details is the same information but keyed on the channel ID. So if you have the channel ID, you can pull it out. We can actually visualize what's really going down in here. Playlist list is a list of all of the playlists keyed by their playlists. And right now there's only the one because of the way that we implemented this. This is the playlist. This is the stuff what's in it. And playlist contents is for this playlist. Here's the list of all the videos. We already looked at that. So that's totally working. Now what that also means, in theory, because we already had this busted and such, that if I was, for right now, for example, to clear this log and then hit this and say get video link, returned all that data cached, we picked the same playlist and it returned cache data and it's there, just there. And then we quit and then we come back and assuming the plugin loads, which it did, if I do this and hit get, it cached the authorization, it returned cache data. Something terrible happened elsewhere. Oh, right. We need to do the decoding part too. Ben says, it really boils down to the whole language being stateful, and import isn't a declarative statement. It's really a function call modifying some global state and an assignment. To keep things simple, I try to only import modules, even when reloading isn't required. Yeah, I should probably get in that habit. I like the idea of having just the one function. Another language that does the same thing in the same sort of way is Lua, if you're not familiar with that, but probably you are. Its import mechanism does the same sort of thing. It actually just loads a file and executes as a script, basically, or it executes a function and captures the return value. Though it does have the idea of hot reloading, but it's not quite the same as in Python because the reload mechanism just keeps a cache of information that it had before as a table, and you can just clobber it out and go again. I guess that's like Python. I guess the one last thing, and I mean, it is pretty late here. We've gone longer, but that is not the thing I was looking at. My eyes. My eyes. Come on, dark reader, do your job. Dump takes the thing to encode it. Does load also take something to decode it? Object hook is an optional function that will be called with the result of any object literal decoded. The return value of object hook will be used instead of dict. Right. So we can do the exact, that's just a function. Surprisingly have yet to touch Lua. I would totally recommend noodling around with it. It's fun to play with. It's like, fun for embedding, except for that whole, it doesn't have a kitchen sink of libraries. It just has the bare bones. But for the purposes, not for something like Sublime where you want like a rich environment for doing stuff, but just an application where you want to have some configurability and programmability, I find Lua like a top-notch solution for that. It's vaguely like JavaScript in that it can be object oriented or not, depending on your use case. But unlike JavaScript, it's not weirdly prototypical behind the scenes doing vaguely object oriented-ish things, even if you don't necessarily understand it. It basically has the ability and syntax sugar to just do it if you want it, but if you don't, it doesn't matter, which makes it quite cool. I think what we want is an object hook to call dotty on everything we load, and that should resolve the problem that we got here, which is the thing that And this is, goes to the question that Ashwin asked earlier. What's Dotty? It's a way for you to get at sub-dictionaries like the ones we see up here in a nice fashion. And yeah, that totally blows up if it's a regular dictionary. But mm, how did that actually work? It's an optional function that will be called with the result of any object literal decoded. Okay, so um, I talked about Python, or I talked about Lua so much that I started writing Lua code there while I was doing stuff. Um, Given a dictionary, return back a Dotty wrapped version. This is used while decoding JSON data from our cache to be able to then we return Dotty, Dotty, Dotty. Stop typing a 0 there, man. Okay. And then we need to just find our load. And what's the name of that argument? Why is nothing ever easy, man? Why is dictionary not of type dict? Yo, what the hell is it? Yeah, I probably shouldn't have printed the whole value of the thing. That was a terrible mistake. Why not? Well, you ask an intriguing question there, sir. But the real question is, why does it not think that these class dicts are class dicts, all else being equal? Because it really seems like everything's a dictionary right up until the point where it gets all mad about how it's not. Hmm. 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 Well, part of the reason for that is that I haven't been sleeping well for the last couple of days. If I wanted to come up with an excuse for stuff, because I've been staying up way too late playing with fun things. That's not the part. Oh, no, that's a different thing. That's a different thing entirely. I mean, yeah. So I guess the real question there is why it thinks it's not a dictionary. Isn't the idea of the loader that these things are dictionaries based on the fact that it blows up in my face because it thinks it's a dictionary, but it's not? Or it's trying to access things that don't exist in there? Just to double check here. Yeah. Mapping, comma, dict. Does this instance pull stuff out of sets? Or tuples, I guess I should say, and try all of them. That's neat. I didn't know you could do that. All right, so object hook means your load function now returns a Dottie. That's kind of what I want. Do I still have the other thing wrapping it? I do, don't I? Is that where that's, whoops, is that where that's blowing up? It is. Oh, yeah. All right. I thought it was blowing up in the other place. That's cool. Ah, I should totally. No, no, no. Let's do it this way. The cache is equal to that which is already a Dottie, or this thing, which totally wraps it, which makes the code look a little clearer anyhow. I mean, except for the crunkiness of the whole operation. But proving that you can look at the same problem too long. That totally works. Weep, weep. That is some pretty exciting business right there. Okay, so let's take it to the nines because I'm already well over what I was actually trying to pull off here. But if we do this instead of that, and we do this instead of, no, need to add this in there. Lord only knows why I'm carefully indenting by 4 a thing that I'm caching to disk as unreadable data, but you know, since when, if this stream is proving anything, it's that I don't always do rational things when I'm fiddling around. That would be, okay, now I think for our sanity purposes here, I'm going to need to, okay, it didn't fail. Your fallback needs to use dotty dot dotty for the empty dicts, does it not? Which fallback would that be? But yes, theoretically, everything in here should totally be using that. Is there a place where that's not happening now? Verifying that we're writing it out as encrypted data, and when we load it, it decrypts it and uses the object hook. This file is currently deleted. Okay, that file is totally encrypted now. That seems to be doing the business. Let's look at init cache. That one there. These ones aren't dot. The ones inside here aren't because they're just going to be keyed by one thing. After you're calling that, this is the one where we call dotty dot dotty after the or, right? Oh, I'm going to put a space in here because I don't like that. We're assuming that if we load cache data, it's being decoded, and it's being decoded using the wrapper that automatically wraps all objects, which should be all of them, I would assume, including the outer wrapping one. And if that returns none because there isn't anything, then the result is a dotty wrapped version of this inline one. I think that's the only place where one of these is, but you know, I've thought a lot of things this evening that didn't turn out to actually be true. Pardon me. So, but on the whole, I think that more or less does what we want. I'm probably going to have to tweak that and not. Yeah. Whoops. I'm going to close that because that color is kind of garish and ugly. So theoretically, this works, except it should maybe be saving the cache data every time and not just once in one request, like this. So we might also, oh, that one makes that one more complicated. So the ones inside the cache, oh, I'm all conflustrated. Init cache. These ones in here are specifically not on purpose, just because when they're actually indexed, I'm only ever going one level deep in them. Although they'll load back when they come out of JSON, they'll be wrapped, but that's not really that big of a deal because the using a dotty as a regular dictionary still works. Though I suppose for sanity's sake, the argument would be if you wrap them here, then they're always that, even after a reload, so you don't have weird edge cases where you try to do something and it works, but it only works after a reload or not before. I'm all about not buying future problems. But, oh, that one's just on the list. That one's not. I think, yeah, that should all still work. There's no places where the weird caching is doing something funky. It even wraps the errors that way. Okay, here's what we're going to do. This is by no means a good idea for functionality's sake. Authenticate does nothing interesting. Deauthenticate does nothing different interesting. This one does. Channel list request is going to do this channel list thing to actually update the cache before it does anything. And here it is storing all the information in. So we might actually do that there so that every time the channel information is done. Now this is going to be doing this ridiculously often. The message just came. That's what I was getting at. Yeah, that's technically not a problem, but I agree with the why make things not make things invariant so that you don't have nights like this in the future. So the last thing we're going to do here before I jump out is all of the places where the cache gets updated, I'm going to call this, which is going to write it to disk every time it makes any request. Although theoretically, once it goes through once, not the worst thing in the world, but I do want to cycle back later and have a version of this that debounces it so that it waits a couple of seconds, because when you request stuff, it's going to grab the channel list, and then it's going to grab the playlist list, and then it's going to get some contents. There's no need for it to write files 3 times in a row in a quick millisecond thing. But for purposes here, just to prove that it's actually doing something, and then that part will go. I don't know that I have it in me to successfully debounce this operation. Okay, there's one there. So we have one for, we don't have one in channel details, but that's only because the channel details actually uses channel list to be able to do something. Um, well, or if you will, there's no request in channel details. It uses channel list because that gives you a list of all the channels, and then as a part of this operation, it injects them in based on their keys into the other one. So this is responsible for doing all of the caching for this one. This one's just piggybacking on this one to make it a little nicer to use for people. Playlist list is updating the cache and then doing that, and then in the contents, this is where it's going to get a little hinky. It has updated the cache. Well, the wording is slightly weird, but I don't know that we necessarily need that. And we'll go ahead and copy that one again. And yeah, that's what I thought. Theoretically, this thing is displaying a message that says that something was cached. Everything else is just that operation. So if we were to jump up to there, this is sort of, oh, that's another place that's doing it. Hang on, let me go one more. But yeah, that one's doing the exact same thing there. Probably should have went to the definition of that thing, huh? This is sort of an abstraction on this because there's two places where we want to grab video data. One for when we're looking inside of the content of a playlist where we only need a little bit of information like the number of videos and vague titles. But the other video list is the one that gets the whole schmear for actually popping up into the big window. And I didn't want it. That one takes longer to get, and you don't necessarily need to fetch it down unless you're editing. So save a little bit of time there and cheap out and cache both of them so that we don't have to try and mix and match and determine if we gathered the full data or not, and do a little patch request if we got the one list and not the other. I mean, clearly I'm not up to that tonight, but final test. We got a fresh load. And everything looks like it's working super cool. So we're going to flush the cache data, which doesn't technically do the right thing. Maybe I should fix that too while I'm remembering it. And then we get videos for the uploads playlist. Look, it has the 3 from that it had previously, so that's neat. And here is all of the details. And notice how much longer that took because it was doing a bunch of encrypting and writing behind the scenes stupidly. But now we have all the information from that. And if I was to quit and restart, wait for everything. Uh-oh. Oh, man. Okay. That took a little more time than a person might technically have wanted. We'll worry about that in a minute. But, whoops. Look how fast it is now at the consequence of how long it takes to load that file up and decode it. That's an issue for another another sitch, perhaps. Actually, that should be happening in the network thread, I would have thought. That might be unrelated to something here. I better test it one more time, but I don't know that I want to do anything about it. Yeah, I'm totally hanging my interface for a little while here while stuff happens in the background. Nevertheless, that's a problem for future me because this part actually works. So, as one last thing, if we look at our changes, oh, we're going to need to do this Dottie thing and then that thing. So I think I'm going to not bother boring people with me doing some Git operations here because I'm going to have to commit the networking change and the Dottie change as separate things, shuffle some stuff around, and then rejig all of these, and maybe do it before midnight so that my commits don't look like they're for tomorrow's dev instead of today's. So I'm going to do a thing that's going to make a swoopity swoop sound. I'm warning anybody that's watching this early, if you're paying attention to what I'm saying, this is going to make a swoopity swoop sound unless I didn't set this button up correctly. I mean, it worked earlier when I tested it, but you know, the evening at large. Swoopity swoop. So there we have it, a nice Devember thing. We had several intractable bugs. We managed to end up with Sublime being slightly hung for reasons I don't quite understand because it's doing something in a background thread, maybe, but I have to actually trace into that whole operation. But nevertheless, we have had a modicum of success. We have our cache data going. We are able to clear out our log panel. There's a custom context menu in the panel, so it looks a little bit nicer. Hey, we're making progress here in this big old Devember thing. So if you have been, thank you so much for watching. Remember, you can use the buttons down below, the thumb, subscribe, and share to know when I'm going live here, or subscribe to my other channel if you like non-long form videos where dumb gaffes like the hour we spent debugging are clipped away. So it just looks like I know exactly what I'm doing without fuddling around with things. And Ben says, yeah, that's loud. That's what I thought. It seemed okay uh, in the editor watching the things go. It seems to be balanced with video clips that I pulled, but I have a feeling that there's something funky going on with OBS. Incidentally, I totally made it crash, so I think it has the same segfault problem as the other one has, because I was modifying that thing and interacting with GUI configuration elements and it blew up. So maybe might try jumping into another stream before Tuesday in that one as an experiment to see if we can get through a whole stream doing the things we normally do without entering the configuration in a new version of OBS without it blowing up. And then we get some fancy new features like configuration buttons in places that make things easier to configure, except that I'd be afraid to touch them, which is kind of why I stopped doing that. But in any case, thanks so much for watching, and we will see you in a devlog update here tomorrow on the channel. And good night, everybody. Have a sublime day and morning and afternoon and holiday season. And hopefully your weather is also sublime because ours is sure not. No, it is not.